The Galactic Tribunal tried to judge humanity, but Earth's ambassador turned the tables. Here's part 1. The summons. The message arrived on a Tuesday. It came without warning, bypassing all of Earth's security protocols and appearing simultaneously on every major government communication system worldwide. To the species of Earth, you are hereby summoned to appear before the Galactic Tribunal. Your kind stands accused of being dangerous to the greater cosmic community. Send one representative to defend your case. Coordinates follow. You have 30 Earth days to comply. In the White House Situation Room, President Larson stared at the screens with 20 other world leaders connected via emergency video conference. Is this some kind of joke? Asked the British Prime Minister. The NASA director shook his head. The signal originated from somewhere near Jupiter's orbit. Our deep space network confirmed it's not terrestrial in origin. After 3 days of global panic and emergency meetings, the United Nations Security Council reached a decision. They would send a representative, and that representative would be Ambassador Eleanor Reeves. Eleanor was 52, with steel gray hair cut in a practical bob and eyes that missed nothing. She had negotiated peace treaties in 3 war zones and held doctorates in both international law and astrophysics. If anyone could represent humanity to alien judges, it was her. You want me to defend our entire species? Eleanor asked, looking around the UN conference room at the grim faces of world leaders. You're the best diplomat we have, President Larson said, and you understand science. We need both, Eleanor nodded slowly. I'll need a team. Small, but the best we have. They gave her 3. Commander Marcus Jackson, a decorated military strategist with a calm demeanor. Dr. Isabella Rivera, the world's leading xenobiologist whose theories on alien biology had revolutionized the field. And Dr. Aidan Okafor, a brilliant AI specialist who had designed Earth's most advanced learning systems. The world's top engineers worked around the clock to retrofit a prototype deep space vessel. They named it the Diplomatic Envoy, and it was the fastest ship humans had ever built. Still, the journey to the coordinates would take 16 days, leaving them just enough time to arrive before the deadline. The night before launch, Eleanor couldn't sleep. She stood at the window of her hotel room looking up at the stars. What could we possibly have done to offend beings we've never even met? She whispered to the night sky. The launch was broadcast worldwide. As the diplomatic envoy rose on a column of flame, half the planet watched and prayed. The other half made peace with whatever end might come. Once in space, the team settled into a routine. Each morning they gathered in the ship's small conference room to review what little they knew about the tribunal. The message mentioned a cosmic community, Dr. Rivera said on the 4th day. That implies multiple species working together in some form of governance. Or it could be one powerful species controlling others, Commander Jackson countered. We shouldn't assume democracy. Dr. Okafor had been analyzing the transmission pattern. The technology to broadcast simultaneously to all our systems shows capabilities far beyond ours. Whatever we're facing, they're advanced. Eleanor spent hours each day reviewing humanity's history, its wars and genocides, but also its art, music, scientific achievements, and acts of tremendous compassion. If she was to defend humanity, she needed to understand it completely, both its darkness and its light. On the 10th day, they received another message. Approach vector follows. Prepare for docking procedures. The diplomatic envoy emerged from its faster-than-light journey into a region of space like nothing they had ever seen. A massive structure hung against the backdrop of an unfamiliar star system, a space station shaped like interlocking rings, each 1 kilometers in diameter. My God, breathed Dr. Rivera. It's a habitat built to accommodate multiple species with different environmental needs. Around the station, ships of various designs moved in orderly patterns. Some were small and sleek, others enormous and bulky. All were clearly more advanced than anything humanity had built. A voice speaking perfect English came through their communication system. Earth vessel, follow the guidance beacon to docking bay 17. Prepare for atmospheric adaptation. Commander Jackson tensed. They know our language. They've been watching us, and of course they have, Eleanor said. We're on trial, after all. The question is, for how long have they been watching? The diplomatic envoy was guided into an enormous hangar where other ships were docked. As they settled into place, Eleanor saw movement beyond the viewports. Figures of different shapes and sizes, some humanoid, others wildly different. Remember, she told her team as they prepared to disembark, we represent every human who has ever lived or ever will. Whatever happens, we must show dignity and intelligence. The airlock opened, and they stepped into an atmosphere that felt slightly thicker than Earth's but breathable. A being stood waiting for them, roughly humanoid but with blue-tinted skin and eyes that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. I am Liaison Officer Thelix, the being said. I will guide you to your quarters and explain the procedures for tomorrow's hearing. As they followed Thelix through corridors filled with alien species, Eleanor noticed how conversations stopped when they passed. Some beings moved away quickly. Others stared with what she could only interpret as fear or disgust. Why do they seem afraid of us? Dr. Rivera whispered. Because they have been told to be afraid, Eleanor replied quietly. Someone wants us to appear dangerous. Their quarters were comfortable but clearly designed for observation, with transparent walls on one side facing a public corridor. Beings would occasionally slow down to look at the humans as if they were exhibits in a zoo. Thelix explained the basic procedures. The High Arbiter Valrax will preside. The Council of 13 will serve as secondary judges. Prosecutor Drex will present the case against Earth. You will have opportunities to respond and present evidence. Evidence of what? Eleanor asked. We still don't know what we're accused of specifically. Thelix's galaxy-filled eyes blinked slowly. Being human is your crime, Ambassador. Everything else is just details. After Thelix left, the team checked their quarters for surveillance devices. They found 17. We should assume everything we say is being monitored, Commander Jackson said. That night, Eleanor reviewed the information Thelix had provided about the Tribunal's protocols. Something felt wrong. Inconsistencies in the procedures, vague descriptions of outcomes. It reminded her of rigged trials she had witnessed in authoritarian regimes on Earth. The next morning, Thelix returned to escort them to the Chamber of Judgment. They walked through vast halls filled with representatives of dozens of alien civilizations. Some floated in containment fields, others moved on multiple limbs, and a few seemed to shift between solid and gaseous states. The chamber itself was enormous, with curved walls rising to a distant ceiling, decorated with what appeared to be a map of the galaxy. 13 elevated platforms formed a semicircle facing a central floor, where Eleanor and her team were directed to stand. Above the platforms, on a higher dais, sat a single massive chair. Hundreds of beings filled observation areas, murmuring in a cacophony of different languages. Eleanor straightened her back and raised her chin. The first rule of diplomacy: never show fear. A sound like distant thunder rolled through the chamber and everyone fell silent. A side door opened and 13 beings of different species entered, taking positions on the platforms. Finally, from behind the central chair, a tall figure emerged. High Arbiter Valrax had skin so translucent that Eleanor could see a complex network of veins and organs pulsing beneath. His eyes were deep-set and entirely black. The 743rd session of the Galactic Tribunal is now convened, Valrax announced in a voice that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to the mind. Today we consider the case of Species 7731, designation Human, origin Planet Earth. He looked down at Eleanor with those bottomless eyes. You stand accused before the civilized species of the galaxy. Your trial begins now. The Chamber of Judgment hummed with the whispers of hundreds of alien spectators. Ambassador Eleanor Reeves stood tall despite the weight of 7 billion lives on her shoulders. Her team, Commander Jackson, Dr. Rivera, and Dr. Okafor, flanked her in silent support. High Arbiter Valrax's voice resonated through the chamber. Prosecutor Drex, you may present the case against Species 7731. From the shadows stepped a being with metallic scales and 6 limbs that moved with unsettling precision. Drex's voice was cold and mechanical. Esteemed Council, I present evidence that humans are a threat to galactic peace. With a wave of his upper limb, the air above the chamber floor filled with 3-dimensional images. Earth's history unfolded before the gathered aliens. Wars spanning centuries, nuclear explosions, burning forests, polluted oceans, extinct species. The images showed humans fighting humans with increasingly deadly weapons. Species 7731 has spent more of its recorded history at war than at peace, Drex stated. They split the atom not for energy but for weapons. They developed spaceflight technologies primarily through military competition. Eleanor watched the faces of the council members. Most showed what she interpreted as disgust or fear, though reading alien expressions was challenging. Furthermore, Drex continued, humans are expanding rapidly. Their population has more than tripled in a single century. Their resource consumption follows an exponential curve, and now they stand at the threshold of faster-than-light technology. This caught Eleanor's attention. Earth scientists were indeed close to a breakthrough in FTL travel. But how did the Tribunal know this? The research was classified. Drex gestured again, and new images appeared. Secret military installations, classified research facilities, and weapons testing sites from around Earth. We have monitored Earth for 200 of their years, Drex revealed. Our observation posts have recorded everything. We present testimony from these observers. 3 alien beings were brought forward. One resembled a tall insect with compound eyes. Another was a small, gray-skinned humanoid with oversized eyes that Earth's UFO folklore had depicted for decades. The third was almost invisible, a shifting pattern in the air that only revealed itself when it moved. Each testified to humanity's violent nature, resource exploitation, and rapid technological development. The gray alien described how its observation team had once been captured by human military forces and barely escaped. Is this why there have been UFO sightings? Dr. Rivera whispered. They've been watching us all along. When the testimonies concluded, Drex turned to the council. The pattern is clear. Species 7731 follows the same development trajectory as the Krell, who destroyed 3 inhabited worlds before they were contained, or the Marvax, whose expansion killed billions. For the safety of all civilized species, humans must be contained before they leave their solar system. Contained? Eleanor asked, speaking for the first time. What exactly does that mean? High Arbiter Valrax answered. If found guilty, your species will be restricted to your home planet. A quarantine field will be established. Your advanced technology will be disabled. This is for the protection of the galactic community. Eleanor stepped forward. I request access to all evidence being presented, as well as records of previous containment cases. Denied, Valrax replied immediately. Tribunal procedure restricts access to sensitive information. How can we defend ourselves without knowing the full scope of the accusations or precedent cases? Eleanor countered. You have seen the evidence, Drex interjected. Your species' actions speak for themselves. Eleanor noticed something strange. When Valrax denied her request, several council members shifted uncomfortably. One, a crystalline being that refracted light in complex patterns, seemed to dim momentarily. Dr. Rivera noticed too and caught Eleanor's eye, giving a subtle nod. High Arbiter, I wish to make a preliminary statement before we proceed further, Eleanor said. Valrax paused, then nodded. Proceed, but be brief. The tribunal's time is valuable. Eleanor moved to the center of the chamber floor. Esteemed council, I don't deny that humanity has a troubled history. We have fought wars, damaged our environment, and developed dangerous technologies. But this portrayal is incomplete. She stood straighter. Humans also write poetry. We create music that can bring tears to the eyes. We care for other species on our planet with conservation efforts. We develop medicines to fight disease. Parents sacrifice for children. Strangers risk their lives to save others during disasters. As she spoke, Eleanor moved slowly around the chamber, making eye contact with as many council members as possible. Yes, we developed nuclear power for weapons first, a shameful truth. But then we use that same power for electricity, medical treatments, and space exploration. Our history is not just one of destruction, but of learning from our mistakes. Some of the alien spectators were leaning forward now, listening intently. Most importantly, Eleanor continued, we question ourselves. We debate our actions. We strive to be better. Is that not the mark of a species worth giving a chance? When she finished, there was silence. Then the crystalline council member's voice chimed like glass bells. The human presents a perspective we should consider. I propose a recess to review this defense. Recess granted, Valrax announced, though he didn't sound pleased. The tribunal will reconvene tomorrow. Back in their quarters, the team discussed their observations. Several council members seemed uncomfortable with the proceedings, Dr. Rivera noted, especially when your request for evidence was denied. Commander Jackson had been scanning their living space. They've added more surveillance since we left. Something's not right here. Dr. Okafor was examining the data tablet they'd been provided. This device has limited access to the station's information network. I might be able to bypass some restrictions. Do it, Eleanor said. We need to know more about previous containment cases. As Dr. Okafor worked, there was a soft chime at their door. When it opened, a small alien with luminescent skin stood there. She, Eleanor somehow knew this being was female, glanced nervously down the corridor. I am Mira, junior clerk to the council records, she whispered. May I enter? Quickly, please. Once inside, Mira's skin dimmed to a soft glow. What I'm doing is forbidden, but I cannot stay silent anymore. She handed Eleanor a small crystal. This contains restricted files about previous tribunal judgments. 17 species have been contained in the past century alone. Why are you helping us? Commander Jackson asked suspiciously. Mira's light pulsed. My people, the Lumidians, faced judgment 300 years ago. We were nearly contained ourselves. What happened then was wrong. What's happening now is wrong. What happens to contained species? Eleanor asked. You should see for yourself, Mira replied. The crystal has access codes to restricted archives. But be careful. If you're caught with this information... Her light dimmed further. After Mira left, Dr. Okafor connected the crystal to their tablet. The team gathered around as images and text in an alien language appeared. I can partially translate this, Dr. Okafor said. It appears containment is more than just quarantine. They scrolled through file after file, their expressions growing darker. These records show contained planets are harvested for resources, Dr. Rivera said, horrified. Their populations are, oh God, used for labor or research. It's colonization, Commander Jackson said grimly. They're finding excuses to take over planets with resources they want. Eleanor studied the dates and details of previous cases. There's a pattern here. Species are typically brought to judgment when they're on the verge of developing faster-than-light capability. Because once they can travel between stars, they can't be easily contained, Commander Jackson realized. And potentially become competitors instead of resources, Eleanor added. A file at the end caught her attention. A list of council members who had voted in previous containment cases. Some names appeared repeatedly, including Valrax, who had served as High Arbiter for over 300 years. The system is rigged, Eleanor said quietly. This isn't justice. It's conquest wearing the mask of law. She looked at her team, determination hardening in her eyes. We need to contact Earth secretly. And we need to find allies here. There must be others like Mira who know this is wrong. What's our plan? Commander Jackson asked. Eleanor looked at the images of previous contained worlds once vibrant. Civilizations reduced to resource extraction colonies. The plan is to turn their accusations back on them, she said. If we're being judged, then perhaps the tribunal should be judged too. As they continued examining the files, a notification appeared on their tablet. The second hearing would begin in 12 hours. The message ended with a disturbing statement. Given the serious nature of the evidence, the tribunal will move to expedite proceedings. Judgment may be rendered within 3 cycles. They're rushing the trial, Dr. Rivera said. We don't have much time. Then we'd better work fast, Eleanor replied, studying the station's schematics included in Mira's files. Because we're not just fighting for humanity now. We're fighting for every species they've wrongfully contained, and those they plan to contain in the future. Outside their quarters, aliens continued to walk by, staring at the humans as if they were dangerous animals. Little did they know that the real predators wore the robes of judge. The night before their second hearing, Ambassador Eleanor Reeves barely slept. While Dr. Okafor worked on establishing secure communications with Earth, she and Dr. Rivera analyzed the files Mira had provided. Look at this, Dr. Rivera said, pointing to a section about a species called the Tellarians. They were contained 80 years ago. Their crime? Dangerous technological advancement and resource inefficiency. Resource inefficiency? Eleanor questioned. They had abundant mineral deposits on their homeworld, Dr. Rivera explained. The tribunal claimed they weren't using them properly. Commander Jackson joined them, keeping his voice low. I've been reviewing the station schematics. There's a central archive section 3 levels down. If we want more evidence, that's where we'll find it. Eleanor nodded. We need to move carefully. Dr. Okafor, any luck contacting Earth? The AI specialist looked up from his work. Yes, but we have to be quick. I've managed to piggyback our signal onto their regular communications network. Earth is standing by. Eleanor composed a brief encrypted message requesting all historical records of unexplained phenomena that might indicate alien contact. She also asked for something unusual: ancient legal texts from various human civilizations. Why legal texts? Commander Jackson asked after the message was sent. Because somewhere in human history, we might find precedents that could help us, Eleanor replied. Every legal system, no matter how advanced, has loopholes. The next morning, Liaison Officer Thelix arrived to escort them to the second hearing. As they walked through the station corridors, Eleanor noticed more aliens watching them. But this time, not all gazes were hostile. Some seemed curious, even sympathetic. The chamber of judgment was even more crowded than before. News of the human defense had spread throughout the station. High Arbiter Valrax took his position. The tribunal reconvenes. Prosecutor Drex, you may continue presenting evidence. Drex brought forward more observers who had monitored Earth. Each gave testimony about human aggression, unpredictability, and rapid technological development. When it was Eleanor's turn to respond, she approached the witnesses calmly. You've observed us for 200 years, she said to the gray-skinned alien. In that time, did you notice our technological progress in medicine? The alien hesitated. Yes? Your species has eliminated many diseases. And did you observe our artistic achievements? Our music, literature, architecture? These are irrelevant, Drex interrupted. I disagree, Eleanor countered. They speak to our capacity for creation, not just destruction. She turned to another witness. You testified that humans fought 2 world wars. Did you also observe what happened after those wars? The witness, a plant-like being with tendrils that constantly moved, answered reluctantly. You formed international cooperation organizations. The United Nations, Eleanor confirmed. An ongoing effort to resolve conflicts peacefully. We learn from our mistakes. As she questioned more witnesses, she noticed inconsistencies in their testimonies. Some claimed to have observed the same events but described them differently. Others had gaps in their knowledge that made no sense for long-term observers. During a brief recess, Mira approached them discreetly. You're making an impression, she whispered. Several council members are uncomfortable with the proceedings. But be careful. Valrax has called for an emergency session to accelerate the judgment. Why the rush? Eleanor asked. I don't know, Mira admitted, but it's unusual. Normally, trials last weeks. When the hearing resumed, Eleanor continued her strategy of exposing contradictions. She asked one observer about specific human achievements that weren't mentioned in the prosecution's evidence. Were you aware that humans have programs to protect endangered species? She asked. No, the observer admitted. Were you aware that we've created international treaties to reduce pollution and combat climate change? I was not focused on those activities, the witness said uncomfortably. Eleanor pressed further. It seems your observation was selectively focused on our negative aspects while ignoring positive developments.
Why is that?
Before the witness could answer, Prosecutor Drex intervened. The observers were instructed to focus on security concerns. The human is attempting to distract from the key issues. Or perhaps, Eleanor suggested, the tribunal was never interested in a complete picture of humanity. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Valrax struck his staff against the floor. Order! The human representative will restrict questions to relevant matters. I am attempting to establish bias in the evidence, High Arbiter, Eleanor replied evenly. Surely that is relevant to any fair proceeding. The crystalline council member chimed in. The human raises a valid point, High Arbiter. If the evidence is selective, we must consider that fact. Valrax's translucent skin darkened slightly. Very well. Proceed with questioning, but be brief. After the day's session, Eleanor received Earth's response. The data included thousands of unexplained phenomena throughout human history that might indicate alien presence. More importantly, it contained legal texts from dozens of civilizations: Roman law, English common law, Chinese legal codes, indigenous justice systems, and modern international law. That night, while Commander Jackson stood guard, Eleanor, Dr. Rivera, and Dr. Okafor took a risk. Using access codes from Mira's crystal, they slipped out of their quarters during the station's low-activity period. Moving through dimly lit corridors, They followed the route to the archives that Jackson had memorized. Twice they had to hide from security patrols, floating orbs that scanned the hallways. The archive entrance should be just ahead, Dr. Okafor whispered, checking the schematic on his small device. They reached a sealed door with a security panel. Dr. Okafor placed Mira's crystal against it. After a tense moment, the door slid open. Inside was a vast repository of data crystals and holographic storage units. Dr. Okafor quickly located a terminal. "I need to work fast," he said. "The system will eventually detect unauthorized access." While he searched the archives, Dr. Rivera made a surprising discovery. "Eleanor, look at this." She had found a physical document unusual in such an advanced society. It appeared to be a star chart with certain systems marked in red. Many of the marked systems matched the locations of contained species. "There's a pattern here," Dr. Rivera said. "All these systems are rich in specific rare elements." Eleanor studied the chart. "They're not containing dangerous species. They're claiming resource-rich worlds," Dr. Okafor called them over. "I've found something about High Arbiter Valrax. He has connections to something called the Hegemony Trading Consortium." "What's that?" Eleanor asked. "From what I can gather, it's a powerful corporation that manages resource extraction and trade across multiple systems. And guess what? They have exclusive contracts for every contained world." Eleanor's suspicions were confirmed. This isn't justice. It's business. The tribunal is just the legal face of an empire-building operation. Dr. Okafor downloaded as much data as he could. As they prepared to leave, Dr. Rivera noticed something strange about records related to council members. These bioscan readings for some council members show unusual patterns. If I'm interpreting this correctly, several of them may be under some form of control or coercion. "Mind control?" Eleanor asked. "Or something similar," Dr. Rivera said. "The patterns suggest neural intervention, like their decision-making processes are being manipulated." Just then, an alarm began to sound. Dr. Okafor checked his device. "We've been detected. We need to move now." They rushed back through the corridors, barely avoiding security patrols. They made it to their quarters just as a station-wide announcement echoed. "Security alert in archive section. All personnel report suspicious activity." Inside their quarters, they quickly reviewed what they'd discovered. "We now have evidence that the tribunal is corrupt," Eleanor summarized. "Valrax is connected to a corporation that profits from contained worlds. Some council members may be under coercion. The entire process targets resource-rich worlds, not dangerous species." "But how do we use this information?" Commander Jackson asked. "If we present it, they'll just claim we stole classified data." "We need allies," Eleanor said. "Mira can't be the only one who knows something is wrong. We need to find other representatives who have doubts about the tribunal." They spent the rest of the night planning their strategy. Eleanor studied the legal text from Earth, searching for concepts that might apply in this interstellar court. In the morning, they received an urgent message. "Emergency session called. Final judgment to be rendered today." "They're rushing to judgment," Commander Jackson said grimly. "They must suspect we're on to them. Or they're afraid of what will happen if other species hear our defense," Eleanor suggested. When Thelix arrived to escort them, his manner was tense. "The High Arbiter has declared this an emergency. The judgment will be final and binding." As they entered the chamber, Eleanor noticed increased security, more of the floating orbs and several large, armored beings stationed around the perimeter. Valrax didn't waste time on formalities. Due to security concerns, the tribunal has moved to expedite these proceedings. After reviewing the evidence, the council will now vote on containment. "High Arbiter," Eleanor protested, "we haven't completed our defense. This violates your own procedures." "Procedures can be modified when security demands it," Valrax replied coldly. The Galactic Tribunal tried to judge humanity, but Earth's ambassador turned the tables. Part 4. The counterattack ambassador Eleanor Reeves studied the energy barrier sealing their quarters. After being locked inside for 6 hours, the team needed to act quickly. "Dr. Okafor, what can you tell me about this containment field?" she asked. The AI specialist ran his handheld scanner over the shimmering barrier. "It's impressive technology, but I've been analyzing their systems since we arrived. There's a pattern to their security protocols. Can you disable it?" Commander Jackson asked. "Not directly," Dr. Okafor replied, "but I might be able to create a brief disruption. maybe 30 seconds, by sending a feedback pulse through their network. That's all we need, Eleanor said. We can't stay here waiting for their so-called justice. Dr. Rivera had been studying the data they'd gathered from the archives. I've identified at least 7 council members who show signs of neural manipulation. Someone is controlling them, Valrax? Commander Jackson suggested. Possibly, Eleanor said, but I suspect there's something bigger happening. Remember what Mira said about her species almost being contained? We need to find her. Dr. Okafor set up his device. I've programmed the pulse to coincide with the regular security sweep. That should help mask our escape. Ready in 3, 2, 1. The barrier flickered and vanished. The team moved quickly into the corridor. Commander Jackson neutralized the 2 guards with quick, precise strikes. They'll be unconscious for about 20 minutes, he said, dragging them into the quarters. We need to move. Using the station schematics they'd memorized, they navigated through maintenance passages to avoid security. Patrols. Dr. Okafor had programmed his device to interfere with the tracking sensors embedded in their visitor badges. We need to find the, Lumidian section, Eleanor said. Mira might be our only ally now. They located the Lumidian habitation area on a lower level of the station. Unlike the sterile corridors of the diplomatic zones, this area was filled with soft, bioluminescent plants and glowing mineral formations that matched the natural light patterns of the Lumidian homeworld. They found Mira in a small meditation garden. Her skin pulsed with anxiety when she saw them. You escaped. The entire station is searching for you, she whispered. They're saying you sabotaged tribunal systems. Another lie, Eleanor said. But we did find evidence of corruption in the archives. Mira, we need your help. There are others who questioned the proceedings. Can you contact them? Mira's glow dimmed. After the disruption in the chamber, many representatives have been called back by their governments. But some remain who share concerns about the tribunal's practices. We need to meet with them, Eleanor said, somewhere secure. Mira led them through a series of hidden passages that the Lumidians had apparently been using for generations. My people have never fully trusted the tribunal. We created our own network within the station. They arrived at a chamber deep within the Lumidian sector. Representatives from 3 other species waited there. A member of the etheric collective who resembled a swirling cloud of energy. A representative of the Dorsani Republic. A reptilian species with iridescent scales. And a small insect-like being from the hive mind of Telos. These are the ones willing to meet you, Mira explained. Ambassador Zorith of the Etheric Collective, Representative Tarak of the Dorsani Republic, and Nexus Voice Kira of the Telosian hive mind. Eleanor greeted each with appropriate gestures that Dr. Rivera quickly whispered to her. Thank you for taking this risk, she said. We believe the tribunal has been corrupted and is using containment as a cover for resource appropriation. Ambassador Zorith's energy form pulsed. We have suspected this for some time. 3 centuries ago, an etheric colony world was nearly judged for containment until we demonstrated our ability to defend it with overwhelming force. The tribunal only respects power, Representative Tarak hissed. Our analysis suggests 17 species have been contained in the past century alone. 18, corrected Nexus Voice Kira, her antennae twitching. The Binar system was contained just 20 rotations ago. Their world was rich in quantum crystals. Eleanor shared what they had. Discovered about the Hegemony Trading Consortium and the neural manipulation of council members. This confirms our suspicions, Ambassador Zorith said. But suspicion is not enough. We need proof that can be presented to all member species. And we need to understand who or what is behind this, Eleanor added. If council members are being controlled, who is controlling them? Dr. Okafor had been working on establishing secure communication with Earth. I've got a connection, he announced. Earth is standing by. Eleanor sent a coded update of their situation and requested an unusual response. The reply came minutes later. Earth had mobilized its prototype defense fleet and positioned ships at strategic points near the solar system. They had also prepared a special package of information, ready to broadcast on Eleanor's signal. Meanwhile, Dr. Rivera had been conferring with Nexus Voice Kira, whose species had extensive knowledge of biology across many worlds. I believe I understand the neural manipulation technology, Dr. Rivera reported. It uses quantum entanglement to influence neural patterns without physical contact. But there's a limitation. It requires periodic reinforcement. So if we could disrupt the signal, Commander Jackson began, we could free the affected council members. Dr. Rivera finished. But we still need a way to expose the corruption legally, Eleanor said. We need to use their own system against them. She turned to their new allies. In your legal traditions, is there any provision for turning an accusation back on the accuser? The three representatives consulted among themselves. Finally, Ambassador Zorith spoke. There is an ancient provision rarely invoked called the judgment of reflection. It states that any accuser must meet the same standards they seek to impose on the accused. That's exactly what we need, Eleanor said. Can it be applied to the tribunal itself? Technically, yes, Representative Tarek said. But it would require a formal motion before the full assembly, supported by at least 3 council members. We don't have 3 council members, Commander Jackson pointed out. Not yet, Eleanor said, but if we can free those under neural control and present our evidence, we might gain the support we need. They developed a plan. Dr. Okafor would work with Nexus Voice Kira to create a device to disrupt the neural control signal. Commander Jackson would coordinate with Earth's fleet to position them for maximum strategic advantage. Dr. Rivera would prepare their evidence for presentation. And Eleanor would draft the formal motion invoking the judgment of reflection. Mira provided them with temporary quarters in the Lumidian sector, hidden from tribunal security. As they worked through the station's night cycle, Eleanor studied ancient tribunal laws, searching for precedents and procedures that might help their case. She found something unexpected, a clause stating that representatives had diplomatic immunity that prevented them from being detained during official proceedings. Technically, the trial wasn't over, which meant their detention was illegal under the tribunal's own rules. By morning, they were ready. Using the Lumidian hidden passages, they made their way to the lower levels of the station where Dr. Okafor had traced the source of the neural control signal. It's coming from this section, he said, indicating a heavily secured area on his scanner. But we can't access it directly. We don't need to, Dr. Rivera said. If we can place disruption devices at these junction points, we can create interference that should temporarily break the control. Commander Jackson and Nexus Voice Kira placed the devices at strategic locations throughout the station's systems. Meanwhile, Eleanor prepared to make her move. We'll need a distraction, she told Mira. Something big enough to ensure all representatives are called to the chamber. Mira's skin pulsed with nervous light. Leave that to me and my people. When the station's day cycle began, alarms suddenly blared throughout all sectors. Announcements in multiple languages directed all representatives to the Chamber of Judgment for an emergency session. Containment field failures in multiple sectors, the announcement reported. All representatives report for safety instructions. It was a lie, of course, a distraction engineered by the Lumidians, but it served its purpose. As representatives flooded toward the chamber, Eleanor and her team moved into position. They entered the chamber through a service entrance Mira had shown them. Security was focused on managing the crowd of confused representatives, allowing them to slip in unnoticed. High Arbiter Valrax entered, his translucent skin dark with anger. Order, this is a security matter. Everyone remain calm while we... He stopped mid-sentence as he spotted Eleanor standing in the center of the chamber floor. What is the meaning of this? He demanded. Guards, seize the humans. Eleanor's voice rang out clear and confident. Under Section 12 of the Diplomatic Protocols, I claim immunity from detention during these proceedings, which have not yet concluded. Before Valrax could respond, she continued, furthermore, I formally invoke the ancient right of judgment of reflection. If humanity is to be judged, then so too must the tribunal itself be judged by the same standards. Gasps and murmurs spread through the gathered representatives. Valrax struck his staff against the floor. The Galactic Tribunal tried to judge humanity, but Earth's ambassador turned the tables. Part 5. The Verdict. The Chamber of Judgment trembled as power surged through the station's systems. The being that had once been High Arbiter Valrax, now revealed as a puppet of the ancient Zeroth, stood with arms raised. His translucent skin had turned a deep pulsing crimson, and energy crackled around him. For millennia we have guided the development of this galaxy, The Xeroth's voice boomed through Valrax. We have contained the truly dangerous. We have harvested the unworthy. And we will not be stopped by primitives. Security systems throughout the chamber activated. Floating orbs surrounded the representatives who had stood with Eleanor, their weapons humming with energy. Ambassador Eleanor Reeves remained calm, though her heart raced. She had faced dictators and warlords on Earth, but never an ancient alien entity that had manipulated galactic civilization for thousands of years. You claim to guide development, she said, her voice steady and clear, but you really fear it. You fear species that might one day challenge you. That's why you target worlds on the verge of faster-than-light travel, not because we're dangerous to others, but because we're dangerous to you. The Xeroth laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Clever primitive. Yes, we select carefully, resource-rich worlds with species just advanced enough to be useful, not advanced enough to be threats. Your Earth is perfect. Minerals, water, billions of potential workers. Workers? Commander Jackson stepped forward. You mean slaves. Semantics, the Xeroth dismissed. The galaxy has order because we provide it. The alternative is chaos. While the Xeroth focused on Eleanor, Dr. Okafor worked frantically on his device. He had established a connection with Earth ships and was sending coded instructions. At the same time, Dr. Rivera was conferring with Nexus Voice Kira, whose species hive mind allowed rapid processing of complex problems. Eleanor needed to keep the Xeroth talking. How many of you are there? Are you controlling all the council members? We are few but powerful, the Xeroth replied. Why exhaust ourselves controlling all when key individuals will suffice? Valrax has been our voice for centuries. Others are influenced as needed. The crystalline council member chimed in, their voice resonating with anger. You have corrupted our sacred institution. The tribunal was founded to prevent galactic war, not to enable conquest. It was founded because we willed it, the Xeroth countered. A convenient tool to legitimize our actions. Much more efficient than open conquest. Around the chamber, the security situation was shifting. The station's personnel had split, some remaining loyal to Valrax and the established order, others siding with the representatives who opposed the Xeroth's revelation. Commander Jackson received an alert from his communication device. Earth ships are in position, he whispered to Eleanor. They're ready. Eleanor nodded slightly, then addressed the gathered representatives. Today you all face a choice. Continue under the Xeroth's manipulation, allowing innocent species to be contained and exploited, or stand together against this corruption. Pretty words, the Xeroth sneered, but you have no power here. This station's defenses can destroy your primitive vessels with ease. Perhaps, Eleanor agreed. But are you monitoring all of space around you? While we've been talking, ships from Earth have been scanning this station, identifying its weaknesses and sharing that information with every species represented here. This was partly true. Earth ships had been scanning the station, but they were few and not particularly powerful. The real strength was in the united front forming among the representatives. The Xeroth hesitated, uncertainty crossing Valrax's features. You're bluffing. Am I? Eleanor smiled. Humanity has a saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You've given every species here a common enemy, and we're very good at forming alliances when threatened. Dr. Okafor approached Eleanor. It's ready, he said quietly. She nodded and raised her voice. Representatives of the galaxy, the Xeroth control this station through quantum entanglement technology. We can disrupt that control, but we need your help. Ambassador Zoreth of the Etheric Collective moved forward, his energy form pulsing brightly. The Etheric have long suspected external influence. We will assist. The Dorsani stand ready, Representative Tarek declared. One by one, representatives from different species pledged support. The Xeroth, seeing control slipping away, acted decisively. Enough. Valrax's body convulsed as the Xeroth channeled more power through it. Station security execute containment protocol Omega. All representatives are to be detained. Earthships are to be destroyed. But the security forces were now divided. Many of the station's personnel had heard the Xeroth's admission of manipulation and refused to follow orders. Others remained loyal, creating a standoff. Dr. Okafor activated his device, a quantum interference generator built from station components and enhanced with knowledge from the allied species. It sent a pulse through the station's systems that temporarily disrupted the quantum entanglement the Zeroth used for control. The effect was immediate. Several council members collapsed as the neural manipulation was broken. Valrex screamed, a sound of rage and pain that echoed through the chamber. "Now, Dr. Rivera," Eleanor commanded. Dr. Rivera and Nexus Voice Kira activated a second device, one designed to locate the source of the Zeroth's control signal. A holographic map appeared, showing a hidden section of the station where the true Zeroth entity resided. "There," Dr. Rivera pointed, 3 levels down behind the main power core. Commander Jackson immediately organized a team. "We need to get there before they recover." The Zeroth, though weakened, was not defeated. Through Valrax, it triggered the station's emergency protocols. Blast doors began closing. Life support in some sections started to shut down. "If I cannot control this station, no one will," the Zeroth declared. "I will destroy it first." Eleanor turned to Ambassador Zorith. "Can your energy form pass through barriers?" "Yes," the ambassador confirmed. "Then take this." She handed him Dr. Okafor's device. "Get to the Zeroth's chamber. This will disrupt their connection long enough for us to neutralize them." As Ambassador Zorith departed, transforming into pure energy to pass through the closing blast doors, Eleanor faced the Zeroth again. "You've existed for millennia because no one knew you were there," she said. "That advantage is gone now. Every species here knows the truth." The station shuddered as systems fought against each other. Loyal security forces clashed with those who had turned against the Zeroth. In the midst of the chaos, Eleanor implemented the final part of their plan. Using the legal expertise she had developed during her career, she formally presented the motion for judgment of reflection before the remaining uncorrupted council members. "By the oldest laws of the tribunal, I call for judgment on the Zeroth entity," she declared. "Let it be held to the same standards it sought to impose on humanity and other species. Let its actions be examined with the same scrutiny it applied to others." The crystalline council member, now free of neural manipulation, chimed in agreement. "The motion is valid. I second it." 2 more council members added their support, making the motion official under tribunal law. Meanwhile, Commander Jackson received confirmation that Earth ships had engaged with station defenses, creating a distraction that allowed Ambassador Zorith to reach the Zeroth's chamber undetected. The moment Ambassador Zorith activated the disruption device, Valrex collapsed to the floor, the Zeroth's control broken. Security systems throughout the station reset as the emergency protocols were overridden. A team led by Representative Tarek and Commander Jackson reached the hidden chamber where the true form of the Zeroth existed, a massive, crystalline brain-like structure connected to the station's systems by thousands of filaments. "It's some kind of organic technological hybrid," Dr. Rivera observed via their communication link. "It's been integrated with the station for centuries." The Zeroth, though unable to speak without Valrax as its puppet, still had defenses. Energy fields activated around its chamber, and security drones emerged from concealed compartments. But the combined forces of multiple species, now united against a common enemy, overcame these defenses. Earth's technological innovations, combined with the abilities of their new allies, proved effective against the ancient systems the Zeroth relied upon. In the Chamber of Judgment, Eleanor addressed the gathered representatives as reports of the Zeroth's containment came in. "Today marks a turning point for the galaxy," she said. "The corruption at the heart of the tribunal has been exposed, but the ideal it was meant to represent, justice and cooperation among species, remains valid." The crystalline council member approached. "Ambassador Reeves, the remaining uncorrupted council. Members have reached a decision on your motion for judgment of reflection." The chamber fell silent as the council member continued. "The Zeroth entity has been found guilty of the very charges it brought against humanity and other species. It has demonstrated dangerous aggression, resource exploitation, and manipulation of other species. By its own standards, it must be contained." A collective sound of agreement rippled through the representatives. Furthermore, the council member added, "All species previously contained under false pretenses shall be reevaluated and, where appropriate, liberated from containment."